Hi guys, this is Marius from Oddshero. This will sort of be my summary video based on the match betting journey I have had with Oddshero so far. Things didn't go exactly according to plan. My plan was to do all of this in like 1 week, but it's been pretty busy at work, so I sort of had to spread it out over time and then just put in an hour here and there where I had a chance. So today I just want to give you a status update on how my journey has progressed, how much money I have made doing match betting with Oddshero, and also in some of the other videos I will be covering all of the mistakes I made. Because even though I've been doing value betting for several years, there are a couple of pitfalls when doing match betting that are pretty good to avoid, and I've made a lot of those mistakes myself. So I've, from first-hand experience, learned that they are possible to do, but that they are also quite easy to avoid if you are just paying a bit more attention than what I did at some times during shooting these videos. So the good news is that I've already made these mistakes and I'm going to show them to you so that you can avoid them. Alright, so let's start out by having a look at how I have been doing in total. So my total profit using Oddshero has been 642 euros and 17 cents, which I would say is pretty awesome. I've not been spending a lot of time doing all of this. I'm going to make an estimate just of how much time I have spent in total when I'm done with like editing the videos. Obviously, if I had just placed the bets and not been doing video recordings, things would have gone even faster. But in general, I reckon that my hourly salary has been pretty good. I'd say somewhere in the range of around like 40 euros an hour, maybe something like that. And yeah, they could possibly have been even better if I wasn't trying to capture all of this on film. So let's start out by having a look at the bonuses I managed to beat. In total, I have done 5 sign-up bonuses, and I have been doing them at Mr. Green, Folkeautomaten, LeoVegas, Mobilebet, and 18Bet. So at Mr. Green, I made a profit of 20 euros, a lot less than the bonus value, but still pretty good. I'm not sure if that is entirely accurate, because I might have placed a couple of bets outside of what I registered. Folkeautomaten, I made a profit of 35 euros. For LeoVegas, I made a profit of 292 euros, so it was like a 300 euro bonus, so I lost like 8 euros. I'd say that's pretty good. Mobilebet, I made a profit of 196 euros from a 200 euro bonus, pretty good that too. And then from 18Bet, I made a profit of 97.71 euros from a 100 euro bonus. So in summary, we can see that it's possible to cash out almost the entire sign-up bonus. As part of the process, I've been taking some negative match bets where I make a small loss on the individual match bet. But as you can see, I mean, I've been making good profits overall, so I don't really care if I lose like 5% of the bonus as part of the process of clearing it. So I'm happy to put up that money because the net profits is still excellent compared to sort of the time and work I put into this. Okay, so in the end, got like 560 euros currently in my LeoVegas account. I got 2,400 in Sportmarket, got 952 kronas or 95 euros roughly in my Mr. Green account, and 478 euros in my Folkeautomaten account. For some of these bookmakers, I will just cash out the money. And for others, I'll just keep it in and do some value betting with TradeMate. I'm in no rush here. And if I can make more money, then I'll keep doing it. But obviously, when you make the match bets, it's totally up to you whether you want to withdraw the money and just cash out the profits and go spend them on something fun, or whether you want to sort of keep the bankroll in play now that you built it up and give TradeMate a shot, because it is an excellent next step to go once you've completed all the sign-up offers. For some of the bookmakers, you will keep getting free bets, and for those you can look to get on match bets to try and clear them too. But for the majority of the bookmakers, we find a lot of value bets with TradeMate, and that is an excellent way to keep beating the bookies. Alex has been recording a pretty cool journey. When he's been using TradeMate, he's now going to also be using Oddshero as he's going along. So there you can sort of also see how you can use both match betting and value betting at the same time, because at the end of the day, TradeMate and Oddshero are just tools which you use to beat the bookies. And there are different methods, but both of them work extremely well. And then in the end, it's a matter of which option you prefer. Some people prefer just going straight for TradeMate if they have a higher bankroll that they're starting out with and just clearing the bonuses by placing a lot of value bets. Other people have a smaller bankroll or prefer to take less risk, which match betting is better suited for, because then in theory the match bets are risk-free if you're able to get high enough odds on sort of both sides. As you've seen in the videos I've been doing, I'm happy to take a small loss on some of the match bets. So then they are not completely risk-free. If you are a bit more patient than me and sort of maximizing the profits is more important to you, then you can be more patient and wait for some better match bets and only take match bets which are break-even or positive. If you do that, then it is, risk-free. So it's a bit up to you, like in the end, how you want to go about it. My goal was always to try and make as much money as possible, but also to do it in as short time as possible. So I had sort of two factors that I needed to trade off there. Now for the other bookmakers, 1-8bet and Mobilebet, I just ended up losing all the money over to Sportmarket. I had to redeposit 2 times into Sportmarket because I ran out of money as I was running so good on Mobilebet. But in the end, I managed to lose all of my money over to Sportmarket, where I don't have any restrictions on my money and can cash them out. Like in practice, Sportmarket needs you to turn over the money a couple of times before you can withdraw it. I guess it has something to do with money laundering, or I'm not entirely sure, but at least that's a policy. But I mean, there are no restrictions there. They don't really want to keep your money in or something like that. It's just, I guess, something with regards to licensing or money laundering or whatever. Not in the same way as the bookmakers, which really put those requirements in because they want you to lose the money. And at Sportmarket, it's perfectly fine for you to sort of place a match bet on one side and place a match bet on the other side in order to meet that turnover requirement. So it's not really a big deal. And I guess some of my money is already turned over enough times that I can start withdrawing it. So not a big deal, but in the end, it's, I guess, something one should be aware about and think about. All right, so let's have a look at the bets that I placed next. Oh yeah, and then there were also 2 more bonuses that I tried to do. One bet had a very weird bonus where I needed to place multiples. So I needed to basically make an accumulator of every single bet. I tried giving it a shot with TradeMate, but as I didn't want to risk too much money on placing the accumulators, I ended up doing like 10-15 euro stakes. And by my calculations, that would take me like 100 bets to meet the turnover requirement if I was doing 10 euro stakes, and 66 bets if I was doing 15 euro stakes. And in the end, that was just not worth it for me to spend my time on. So it's up to you, like whether you want to put in the time and the effort, but it is a lot more tricky, and TradeMate would be ideal to try and beat that bonus. Also, their odds are pretty fast at dropping and pretty terrible in general. So it's not really a good bookmaker to use at all. So I would sort of say that, I'd only do that as one of the last bookies where I try to get a sign-up bonus from, and only if I have put in like the time and gotten the experience of doing match betting for a while. Also, I deposited into Interwetten, but there I simply forgot about making the deposit. So by the time I looked into it, my bonus had already expired because I only had 2 weeks there. So that was pretty stupid. So that's one of the reasons why we say if you're new to match betting, it's good to start out by doing 1 bonus at a time. Because if you're just doing 1 bonus, it's much easier to keep track of everything. And then as you gain a bit of experience, you can start doing multiple ones. But when I was trying to do all of these other bonuses, and I also had a lot to do at work, it got a bit too much for me to keep track of it. So I simply forgot about it, and that's a wasted 100 euros, which I could easily have made otherwise, because there are a lot of value bets at Interwetten and match bets too. So it would have been an easy bonus to clear. Just a bit annoyed at myself for that, but you know, things happen and sometimes life get in the way and that's just how it is. So another good reason for why it's smart to do one bonus at a time. All right, so let's have a look at some of the bets that I did place. Here we have 1-8bet first. As you can see, in total, I ended up placing 7 bets before I managed to lose my entire bankroll at 1-8bet and win it over at Sportmarket. So as you can see, the majority of my bets were pretty close to zero. Like here, I took a €269 loss, which was the biggest one, and the biggest profit was a €1 win. So yeah, some good bets, some pretty close to break even, and one where I took a small loss, but in the end, that was fine. Yeah, and then if you want to have a look at the individual bets you placed, you can always go in and check the stakes. It doesn't look like I placed super high stakes there at 1-8bet. I guess this one was one of the bigger ones where I had like €80 on one side and then 105 on the other. And yeah, pretty much all of these ended up winning on the Sportmarket side. So I was a bit lucky there, but we'll take the luck we can get. That's always nice. All right, next let's have a look at Mobilebet. So here I have more bets, 3 bets on this side, and then I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bets in total on the other side. So I needed 13 bets in total to get this bonus from Mobilebet. Towards the end, I was starting to consider, do I need to step up my game and meet the turnover requirement? Because I was getting pretty close to the expiry date, which was this Monday. And I essentially had like 4 days left when I really started to put an emphasis on this. But in the end, I ended up losing my bets at Mobilebet and winning at Sportmarket. So I managed to shift the money over there. Much thanks to these 3 bets that I placed. Starting out here with a bet on Dusan Lajovic against Norwegian Kasper Ruud. Much fun to have a bit of money on pretty much the only good Norwegian tennis player and the highest ranked Norwegian tennis player ever, who just ended up winning this tournament in total. So pretty fun to bet against him and then ending up winning on the side that I wanted. So on this game, I was only able to get down €55, and that was actually because there wasn't too much liquidity I could get on the Betfair side here. Because the Mobilebet side I could probably have gotten in more money on. Then I had this bet here, also on the ATP tournament. Ended up losing €3 there, not too happy about that one. So here I had €123.60 staked at Mobilebet and 126 on the other side. So that's like, €3. This was one of the very, very big mistakes I made, and it cost me €17. So that was extremely annoying. But it shows how important it is to sort of, just move the sliders up and down and have a look at what your profits are going to be in the end. Because here I tried to do some quick math on my calculator, and I ended up making a mistake, which cost me almost €18. So that was a bit annoying, but luckily I had a fantastic bet a couple of days earlier where I made a positive arbitrage of €22. So in the end, net those two, I was like €5 plus. So I didn't lose too much sleep over it, but could have had €18 more of profit. So still a bit annoyed on that one. But in the end, this was sort of the bet that managed me to lose the remaining money I had on Mobilebet that managed me to complete it. So I guess overall was fine with regards to my goal of trying to do this as fast as possible. So as you can see here, I placed almost €247 on over 3.5 goals in Leeds United versus Bristol City. Ended up being a 1-0 win for Leeds. So I won on the over on Sportmarket, where I bet for €376. So what happened here was that the odds had shifted. So if I remember correctly, it was lower. I got higher odds on the over than what I should have been gotten, than what Oddshero told me I should be able to get. So I think I got, Oddshero said 240 there, and then I got 245. And then on the other side, the odds was much lower than what I should be getting. So in the end, I tried to make some maths on it and made a mistake. And I placed a bet at Mobilebet, and then the odds I was able to get in on Sportmarket was just way too low versus what I needed to get closer to break even. So it was a stupid mistake, and it was also on a Saturday where there are just so many opportunities to get in even profitable match bets. So if I were to do it all over, I would have been a lot more patient and just skip that one once I saw initially that the odds didn't align. And that would have saved me for both time and money to just skip that trade, move on to the next, and get in a good bet. All right, then I also want to talk a bit about my biggest bet overall, which was quite exciting. And that was on an Asia Cup game between China United and Kaya FC. So this is a team from Myanmar on the one side and a team from the Philippines on the other. And I managed to stake 300 euros on this at Mobilebet, which was quite surprising to me because that's quite high on a very small tournament. But I guess, I mean, they've seen that I've been losing so far. So they assumed I was a stupid punter and allowed me to get it on. What was so cool about this one was that when I looked the match bet up in Oddshero, the odds I should look for was 350 on Mobilebet. But when I checked the website, it was actually 370. So that was already fantastic value. And then the odds was also great on the other side. It took me multiple bets in order to get on the full liquidity I needed, because I needed to stake 787 euros here. But in the end, I managed to get very close to getting the exact odds that I wanted. Maybe the average was slightly lower. I didn't bother doing like the fine maths on it. But I got pretty close to like an average odds on 141 on the bets I placed. It ended up winning, and I made like a 22 euro profit on the bet, which was just totally awesome. Also a lot of fun because by the time the game, like I checked the odds an hour before the game started, and then the odds on the draw no bet home dropped like 1.8, 1.9, which was just absolutely insane. So this would have been one of the best value bets I'd ever placed if I had just placed on the home team. But the home team did end up winning in the end, so it was good that I made just a profitable arbitrage bet from doing it instead. So quite happy with that one. And also I was sweating it a bit because since I knew these were pretty small teams, I was a bit worried that Mobilebet was going to void or cancel my bet before the game started. But luckily that didn't happen, because if it had happened, I would have had a lot of exposure on the Kaya side, where I would have like 787 euros riding on 141 on them to win, which could have sucked. So in the end, I would give the advice of trying to be a bit careful when betting on smaller competitions, because if for some reason the bookie ends up voiding your bet, claiming it was like a palpable error, which is them just saying, oh, we set the odds terribly wrong, based on like the odds movement there was here, then I could have ended up in a position where I had a lot of money on the line on one side and no way to cover the other side. But yeah, in the end, it went fine. It's just like those things can happen, and that's part of the like, because in theory, match betting is completely risk-free, but this is one of the cases where risks can be involved, which is kind of out of our hands. But the way to mitigate for that is just to place smaller stakes on smaller competitions. If the odds had gone up on China United, the home team, then it wouldn't have been a problem, even if they had voided my bet, because then I could just find like a different bookmaker or multiple bookmakers and place the bets there with to sort of cover the stake I had on the Sportmarket side. But since the odds dropped on the home team, if that bet would have been voided, I would have gotten in on, let's say, 2.0 in odds, probably around that by the time the game started. And then I would have a huge share loss. So that's sort of the worst case scenario. Again, very rare that these things happen. I'm just mentioning it to help you out and to sort of make sure that you never get yourself into a position where this becomes a problem. All right, yeah. Also had a pretty good bet here on a rugby game between Toulouse and Bordeaux. I didn't manage to totally balance this one perfectly out, but I ended up with a scenario where I won 8 euros if one team won, 12.50 if the other team won, and the 12.50 one ended up winning, which was pretty awesome. So that was a pretty good bet. Also quite high stakes with like 300 euros and 250 euros on either side there. Yeah, I guess this one was also one of my bigger bets, 300 euros, and at 348 ended up losing 3 euros and 65 cents there. So yeah, again, as you can see, some of the bets end up with a small profit, some end up with a small loss. If you make mistakes, it can be costly, but you can also get some totally awesome opportunities. So yeah, you win some, you lose some. Overall, at the end of the day, what we care about is the net profits that we are making. And yeah, I made 642 euros, so I'm pretty happy. All right, LeoVegas. So this bonus was a bit special because it required me to first meet the turnover requirement before I got my money, and then I could cash it out immediately. Yeah, here I actually had to meet the turnover requirement, but in the end, that wasn't a very big deal. I placed some large bets, and there are a lot of match bets and edges on LeoVegas, Unibet, and all their clones. And all of those brands who have the same odds, like 32 Red, 888 Sports, Mr. Green, etc. So this was a very, very achievable bonus to do. Got in some good bets here. You can also see here I had a void. So that's the scenario if you bet on an even Asian handicap bet. Then you get your stake back if it ends with a draw. In some bookies, majority of bookies, this won't count towards your turnover requirement. So it's a good thing to be aware of. But in the end, not a very big deal, and I just get the match bets on anyway. I guess here then I had, assuming it's 10 bets on each side, I had 14 bets in total to clear this bonus. So that was quite doable too. And yeah, if I didn't mention it, I also used some value bets on Mobilebet with TradeMate as part of the journey. So that was pretty good. And a good way for me to get closer to meeting the turnover requirements, since I wasn't sure I was going to be able to lose the money over to the cover bookmaker on Sportmarket. In the end, that worked, but it's always good to have a plan B just in case you need to actually meet the turnover requirement. Yeah, so again, we can sort of see the same thing here. Got a couple of big losses. The last one I did here was, I guess, what I needed to meet the turnover requirements. So even though I lost like 5 euros here, I was just like, okay, that's fine. I'll take it, and then I'm done, and I can chill out, relax, spend my time having fun. Not that match betting. Of course, match betting is a lot of fun, but yeah, maybe watch a football game too. That's always nice. Yeah, so here I had a 5 euro loss. Biggest profit, I guess, is 373 euros, so some profits there. And then, yeah, for some of the NBA bets, I had a bit of stake on, like 150 euros, but nothing crazy. Mobilebet had by far like my biggest staking. And Folkeautomaten, here it only took me 5 bets to do it all. And this was only a 50 euro bonus, but here I ended up running so crazy good. So I guess in the end, what happened was that I ended up, I think maybe I deposited an extra 500 or 1,000 kronas into this one. I can't remember 100% for sure, so I guess look back on the other videos I did and you'll be able to see. Anyway, I was pretty unlucky on this bookmaker because I won a lot in the beginning, 125, 125, then I lost a bet, then I won 300. And that's why I currently find myself with like 400 euros in my account there. And in the end, as you can see, I ended up taking quite a bit of losses here. 2 euros here, 262, 55, and 50 cents almost. Or 50 cents if you round it down. So in the end, that cost me 15 euros and only made this a 35 euro profit. They have now Folkeautomaten have the same odds as Mobilebet, 1A-bet, Common, and 10-bet. So I could probably have been a bit more patient with this one and taken my shots, because with Mobilebet I could see that I was able to get in like plenty of match bets where I also made a profit. But this was, yeah, again, the case of me just trying to speed through it. So if you're a bit more patient, then you should be able to get the good spots here and not lose out on, I guess, 15 divided by 50. So that's like 30% of the bonus, which is a bit high, but in the end, I did it pretty fast. Then Mr. Green. Oh, okay. Yeah, this explains it. So here I just forgot to register that I placed the other side. So always remember to register that in terms of stats. And I guess this explains why I have 953 kroners in the account instead of having, yeah, that big loss of like 30 euros. And there is a bit of a difference between the 50 euros here and 953 kroners, but either that's down to currency changes or the bet I forgot to register. I registered was a bit worse than what I got in, a bit worse odds than what I put in, but I can't remember that part. So we just registered it there, and I mean, I beat the bonus in 2 bets. Pretty happy about that, and I have my profits. So then all is good, all is good. Yeah, so I guess that's it. I'm also going to give you an estimate of how much time I spent doing all of this once my videos are ready. And then we'll see. But yeah, okay, so I guess my total profits then in the end is 672 euros and 30 cents roughly. Maybe some small rounding errors here and currency conversions, but yeah, it's still pretty good, and I'm very happy. And this money is going to be well spent on probably going with a vacation, something like that. Thinking about a surf trip would be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's always good to get a bit of extra cash on hand and make some money. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want us at Oddshero to make more videos like this, then please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We got some more awesome content coming your way. Alex is doing some match betting. We're also going to get Joachim started doing a bit of match betting and value betting using both Oddshero and TradeMate. So more videos to come, more journeys to follow. And in the meantime, may the profits be with you.